Awesome. Well, I started getting involved with WorldVision probably 2010, 2009. It really came on my radar, and I mean, growing up as a missionary kid, kind of notice where the need is, and it's in your heart. But when I was a kid, I didn't have any power to do anything. I was just following my parents around. So when you're old enough to actually do something and be aware that there is an issue, that's when I actually started getting involved. So I started kind of going to schools and encouraging people like you guys doing the 30-hour famine, from taking a trip to the Philippines and things here and there.
I had done the 30-hour famine as a kid, like you did.
Yeah.
So that was the first time that it really came into my radar. But I mean, my parents certainly were not missionaries. I didn't have that. I didn't have that sort of like understanding of what it might be like in a developing nation at all. And so it wasn't until I started doing more work, and I think 2010 was my first time on the ground. Also, I was in Africa at that time, so it was sort of like I was in Malawi, and it was very eye-opening. And I think once you see those kinds of things, like you guys know, you can't unsee them, and it kind of sort of like lights that fire. I mean, you guys are all in community now, and you've got all of this support, and now you just kind of want to do more, don't you?
So since you guys have been so actively involved with WorldVision, what countries have you visited, and what all have you done there that's been pretty impacting?
Well, growing up as a missionary kid, I spent some time in Jamaica and then spent about 3.5 years in the Philippines. So, I mean, I was young, but obviously, yeah, you can't unsee the things you saw, and I remember it very clearly. And going back, I only went once with WorldVision, and I hope there's more, but it was back to the Philippines because there's a kind of a big movement in my heart for it. And I think that becomes what's important, is like, what moves you to want to help? That's when you should actually act on something like that. So yeah, 2010, went back to the Philippines with them.
Wow, I kind of got lost into that whole story. So the question was about where I have been?
Yeah, and
okay.
what all you did while you were in those countries.
Really answer that.
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
I got into your story. Yeah. It's good. That's what we're doing, sort of like storytelling. And actually, that's kind of where I'm going with this answer also, is because I've been to Malawi, and then I've been back in Africa, like on different projects a couple times. I was in Ghana and also in Ethiopia, and then with WorldVision, I was also in the Philippines for the first time, in Sri Lanka. And so those are all kind of, these crazy life-changing experiences that I literally think about every single day, which sounds ridiculous, but I feel like those kinds of things are so embedded, exactly like what you're saying, in your heart. You kind of carry it with you. So the storytelling aspect of it that we're all doing here, we're all our different kinds of storytellers, and so now I'm like really obsessed with how I can sort of go back as much as I can to different places and tell more stories, and listen, really listen more, because I talk a lot, as you can see.
Conversation sparks motivation.
Exactly.
It really does. It just came to me. And what we ended up doing there was just kind of, at least for me, you've been to a lot more places with WorldVision than I have, so I'm sure that your journey there has evolved. But for me, I was just going to the areas that are working in collaboration with WorldVision and kind of seeing firsthand where the money goes when you're sponsoring children and how it's affecting their families and the improvement of their lives. And you're seeing schools raised, it says WorldVision on the wall, like this school is here because people support like you, so it really is nice.
It also makes you feel more grateful of your own life, right? Yeah.
Yes, and Canadians do a lot of work there. I've seen a lot of schools built by Canadians, a lot of buildings and stuff. So all of your dollars and all of your efforts are really going to those places, which is great.
So you guys better start getting involved, even though you already are, but start getting more involved. Okay, being from a big city like Toronto, knowing that you have everything you need, what was it like being amongst the impoverished?
Whoa. It looks like I'm crying, but I actually have something in my eye, so let's just not get that confused.
It'll be more moving.
I know, it is moving though. It's perspective, as you guys know. It's really putting things into perspective. For me, that's the biggest thing, knowing that, you really do have more than you think. And so I always take that with me.
Yeah, I mean, I remember walking through, there was a community called Biseko, and basically it's about 60,000 people on reclaimed ocean. So the houses are like half sunk in the water. And I remember seeing a dad wading through like mud water, who knows what's in it, carrying his little daughter who's in a school uniform across the water, putting her shoes on and sending her off to school. And with things like that, you see, it makes you uncomfortable, and our instinct as people who have so much is to look away. And I think in order to make a change and see and understand and be moved by something, you have to be uncomfortable like you are now. You're hungry and you're making a change, and that's a start.
Exactly.
So was there any particular aspect that really impacted your life a lot?
Like one specific moment, is that what you mean?
Anything, just throw it at us.
What you just said right now really triggered a lot of stuff for me because that's exactly what it is. It's called it like creating space for people, right? It's like, oh, we have these kinds of issues that we deal with just in our neighborhoods. Like in my own neighborhood, sometimes, every day I would pass the same homeless guy, and after a while, maybe you're having a bad day yourself and you don't really want to look the homeless guy in the eyes. But it's like exactly what you're saying. Why do you not want to look into his eyes? Probably because I'm worried that if I do, he's going to be sleeping on my couch. So it's like, we have to deal with how we feel about people and that we're the same, and that kind of humanity triggers us, and it needs to be used in a positive way, I think. So I guess the answer is all of the experiences.
Yeah, and it's just little things you see along the way, and see little things you remember. Like you said, you carry it with you all the time. We traveled to the province of Palawan, and it's very beautiful, but these people are very secluded from any cities, and they have a bit of room to farm and everything like that, but you just see there was a family who we had to actually boat out to get to, and they're just kind of isolated on this farm, and a couple of their kids were sponsored, and you see how the kids are gone because they're at school, and then a little bit of extra money they invested in duck, and then when the duck got big enough, they invested in something bigger and bigger until they were able to have a cow. And it's just like a few bucks, a few bucks out of your pocket. I know kids get together with a few of their friends and sponsor a child, and you have no idea what it's doing, but it's like those are the things you remember, because the reality is it's very it seems helpless when you land in Manila and you look out and you see just miles and miles and miles of squatter areas, but the best thing that you can take home from that is know that you can make a difference in somebody's life. So that's something I will always remember.
That's true. And it's amazing how satisfied a person can feel with the smallest amount of things. And then you see here in Toronto, you see people going out buying loads and loads of clothes and they're still not satisfied, but then they just need like a pint of water and they're happy with their life. All right, so what would you say to those watching regarding issues of poverty and injustice?
I think that I urge you to not let yourself be ignorant to the things that are happening in our world, whether it's in Canada, in your backyard, the homeless guy that you walk by every day, or in a third world country where there's children being forced to work in mines. You obviously can choose your cause for whatever you're doing for the 30-hour famine, so that's very cool. That's a sliver of awareness, and then that's a beginning of something really big. And just do your research and watch videos and make yourself uncomfortable, and that's what's going to move you. Whatever moves you the most, invest in that and research it. Whether it's doing the 30-hour famine, or you can go on the WorldVision website in their gift catalog and buy like a goat to send to a family, and it makes a huge difference. Or getting your friends together, sponsoring a child, or going on missions trips. Just let it move your life, because that's a true feeling of fulfillment. I think at the end of your life, you're like, this is worth it, man.
Yeah, I couldn't say it much better than that, really. But I believe too the education, because even though it sounds like I've done a lot or I've done stuff, I really haven't. I'm just really a student, and I really want to learn as much as I possibly can. So I feel like just exactly educate yourself, in what you're interested in. And if it's not this necessarily, then it'll be something else. But don't be afraid to let yourself feel and connect, because that is, what's going to connect you to your passion, and then you are going to be the change that you wish to see in the world. So I think you should do it. You're already doing it, by the way.
Yeah, congratulations, you guys, for actually making yourselves uncomfortable for somebody else. That's a big step for people. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah and Lights, of course. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And let's make some noise for them. I'm going to pass the mic back to Ian Levat, who's going to introduce us to our second breakouts.